some screaming heavy metal! We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, a hard-hitting show featuring all things hard rock and heavy metal. And now here are your hosts, the Twins of Chaos, Clint Switzer and Paul Lagana.
And it is a huge pleasure for us here on the Music Mania podcast to welcome this week's guest. It is none other than Roxy Petrucci. Welcome to the show, Roxy. How is it going? It's so good to hear from you.
I am ecstatic. I am rocking and rolling, writing, and just jamming and just having a great time.
Well, that's great to hear.
You guys.
Well, absolutely, and it's we tell you it's Christmas time. You just can't beat this time of year, other than the 0-degree weather that we're experiencing here in Kansas City, as I'm sure you are up in the Detroit area. I know you guys, chains on the tires. You guys do it all up there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Michigan. Yeah, and tomorrow could be spring. You blink and the weather changes, and you know how that is.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Christmas we want snow, and Christmas we got snow.
Well, you got so much going on. You're as busy as ever, and you look as good as ever. By the way, you're a lifelong crush of mine. I just thought I'd bring that up from the beginning. You and Janet Gardner, both from Vixen. This is a huge moment for me. Didn't want to tell you that before the show. I thought you might just hang up on us, but it's true story, Roxy. You just look great. You just look like everything's going great for you. I love to see that.
I'm flattered.
Well,
thank you very much.
Well, you've got this Madam X album, and kind of give us the update on that, because you sent me the song over. We heard it here on the intro, so this kind of the first sneak peek of that. I believe it's called Monstrosity. What? Tell us, give us an update on the Madam X album. When can we expect it, and just if it's anything like what we've heard here, we're going to be in for a real treat.
Well, you're going to be in for a real treat. I mean, it's going to be epic. It's 2 years in the making, but the band hasn't been together for 30 years, so it took a while for us to get back to, getting to know each other and that whole deal. And we've grown as musicians, and so it was kind of like, what direction are we going? Because it's been 30 years since I in high school. So once we started writing together, it was just kind of like the chemistry was still there, and it just the ideas were flowing, and it's been a long process, but it's going to be. It's going to be worth the 2-year wait. I guarantee it.
Well,
Madam X fans will not be disappointed.
It's great, and to be able to pull off these. I mean, you were able to do this. Back in the '80s as well. You kind of left to join Vixen, back then as Madam X was getting going. I mean, I believe even Sebastian Bach had sang for Madam X early on. It was a band that had like a lot of momentum going, at that point. But why do you think it took this long to get everything back together? Because that was kind of a band that you talk about from the 80s. Like, oh yeah, Madam X, they did. That's right, Roxy was in that. They had Sebastian Bach for a minute, and but now to wait all this time, like you said, like why the wait? And why do you think that it took so long to get that going?
Well, it's all about timing too, and I was busy with Vixen. Brett Kaiser ended up doing an Elvis impersonation thing, and by the way, he's split an image. He does a great job. He sounds just like him. Chris Godzilla got into doing, I don't know what he was doing, terrorizing some city, and Maxine was doing her own solo record. So, it just wasn't, the timing wasn't right. We weren't even really in contact, and everybody was doing their own thing. So what happened was, when I was touring with Vixen, this was like three years ago. We were in London, and I noticed all these Madam X records coming through. We were doing a meet and greet, and these Madam X records were coming, and CDs and pictures. I'm going, ding, ding, the bell went off in my head, and I was thinking, we should just get together and release one song, just for the fans that are still wanting to hear some Madam X. So I told Maxine, I go, you want to just get together and do one track? And she said, sure, I'll do it. So we called Chris and Brett, and they were on board, and we released one song, which was called the 80s Rock Song. And, it was a lot of fun, and we thought, what, let's just do a record. easier said than done.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why it's taken the 2 years. But we're having a great time. You know, we still have the Madam X. It's a love-hate relationship. I mean, you know, they're kind of like brothers to us, and kind of. I mean, I could punch them in the face sometimes if I want to, and then there's other times where we're just getting along great. So, I mean, that's what makes bands. I don't know, just the friction in some of the bands make it exciting, and we still have that, but we still have that drive and that passion to rock. It's still there. We're still driven.
Well, absolutely. And you also sent me over another new song called Kill Mister, and I'm assuming it's some sort of tribute to Lemmy, but get into that. What's that going to be, and what can we expect to hear that from in the future?
That is a side project that Maxine and I are doing now. It's called The After Show. And what happened, this is coming out of the Madam X thing, too, because what happened was once we started writing for Madam X, we realized, wow, we're writing some really cool stuff together. Well, some of the stuff we're writing isn't fitting for Madam X or Vixen, but it's really cool. So we thought, well, you know, let's get some other artists involved. And Mark Slaughter happened to, he dug the song, and we thought, God, his voice would be perfect on that. And he ended up recording it, and it turned out great. Michael Schooley's playing bass. So we're going to release that on the December 28th, which is the actual passing of Lemmy. And, I mean, I played it for a few people, and everybody's just blown away by it. So we got something special here. And then now, also, we just recorded another song called Full Metal Jacket, which Mark is going to sing on this one, too. So we'll release that after Kill Mister. So we got some exciting things happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you hear Full Metal Jacket, you're gonna flip out.
Got to give me that, because I love Kill Mister, and I was like, okay, she kind of were vague about it when you sent it to me in an email. You're kind of like, oh, this is another project. We'll talk about that. And I go, I wonder if I can tell who's singing on this. And immediately I was like, oh, that's Mark Slaughter. I mean, you can't really mistake his voice as it is, and it's great. And
I know he's got a distinctive voice, but he still nailed it. And Michael Pasculi's playing bass, and that guy's just killed it. This guy's just illegal talent.
Well, you're so busy, and I love this because you're still, of course, going with Vixen. You guys rolled through Kansas City here just a few months ago, but you guys got some dates coming up next year, including you got a show New Year's Eve, I think, with Great White coming up in Idaho. I mean, Vixen's still going out, of course. I mean, my God.
Playing in Idaho. I know who to thank that, but yeah, Fort Hall Casino with Great White, so that should be a good time too. Are you coming?
I you know what? If you can get a flight to Boise or something in the middle of the winter, I would love to be there, because where else would you rather spend New Year's Eve, really? It's with you guys in Great White. My God.
We're flying into Salt Lake. I think we're flying into Salt Lake and making the drive. I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
We're getting there, but we're getting there.
Awesome. Okay, Roxy, here we go. We're going down memory lane here. Basically, well, yeah, here we go, man. When you guys moved to LA, I think it was like 85, I guess. You guys played the Sunset Strip, and which is actually part of my own genre, because I'm actually from LA. So, you have any stories about that when you guys first moved and started playing those clubs?
Oh God, I have stories, but
Like,
a lot of those are going to be in the vault.
Like inappropriate ones would be great. Oh, that's.
I can't go there. There's some I cannot go, and we'll stay safe for the book. But I can tell you this: Madam X. I don't even want to talk about that. You guys, you got me on a. I'm stumped right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think okay, that era, that time, it'll never be replicated. I mean, you talk about just the decadence, the debauchery. I mean, just not just the bands. Forget the craziness and the illegal activity and the transvestite fights and
illegal activity with Madam X. We were milking cookies all the way.
I've always assumed that. But I mean, you guys tore it up. I mean, that was that scene. I mean, when you talk about the flyers, you'd go up in Sunset Strip and just the flyers, every single band.
We did all. Yeah. I mean, we did that with Madam X and we did it with Vixen. You had to do that when we got to LA. It was there were so many bands and everybody looked the same. And they were playing all over the place. And to get noticed, you had to put your flyers up. You had to show up at the Rainbow. You had to look as cool as possible. We walked around in our outfits because it was kind of like, you had to. Otherwise you wouldn't get noticed, and you just look like everybody, a normal Joe Schmo. Well, we didn't want to. We wanted to stand out. So we just walked around in our leather where our hair was as big as, it could be. We did have the biggest hair. Madam X had the biggest hair ever, especially Godzilla. But we went into the Rainbow, and that's where Don Arden, you guys know the story of Don Arden, right? Managed Ozzy, Black Sabbath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Sharon Osbourne's dad. Well, what happened was we one night we played at Madame Wong's, and there was a guy there and said, you guys look so crazy. There's this place called the Rainbow. I got to bring you over there. Everybody goes there. You just got to go. So they brought us over there. We were in our gear, and Don Arden had one of his, office guys over there. And he saw us. We walked in, and he said, you guys got to be a band. And we said, yep, we are. In fact, we're playing the Troubadour tomorrow night. So why don't you come? He brought Don Arden down. Don Arden came, saw us, and said, you are my greatest find. He ended up signing the band. We signed to Jet Records. He put us on tour. We went over to England, and we played the Marquee. You guys heard the Marquee, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to see a show there someday. It's a bucket list, yeah.
Ozzy was there. Ozzy was there for that show. And he was blown away. He really dug Maxine's playing, too. And after that, we played the Marquee, and then nothing. Mm-hmm. And that was... The band we just fell apart. We released that record, then the band just fell apart, and that's when Vixen called me. Well,
and I want to, because it's funny, my introduction to Vixen was actually being just a kind of a scandalous 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid watching USA Up All Night and seeing the movie Hard Bodies. Of course, you hadn't joined Vixen yet, but when Hard Bodies came out in '85, correct? It wasn't until '86.
Yeah, I wasn't in a band yet. I joined in '85, but that was what happened was I had auditioned for David Lee Roth just before I joined Vixen, which was really cool. It was he was putting the band together with Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai, and they were looking for a drummer.
Yeah, Eat 'em and Smile. Yeah,
it was awesome. I got the call, and I went down and jammed with Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai, and I was too nervous to even be nervous. But it was so cool. I didn't even care if I got the gig. I just had the bragging rights that I got to jam with Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai.
Absolutely.
I didn't get the gig, but I was one of the top 10 that they were looking at, and Greg Bissonette got the gig. Rightly so. The guy's killing. He can play anything. But that was a big highlight for me. But anyway, after that, I joined Vixen, which was really, they were looking at me the year before Madam X broke up. Janet was keeping an eye on, what's going on with Madam X. She wanted me in Vixen. So when she found out the band split up, she gave me a call, and the rest is history.
Awesome. So you guys signed with EMI, I believe it was it 86 or 87 when you signed with EMI, or was it 88? I can't remember.
I think it was, you guys, I think it was 87. Like 86, 87.
Right. And obviously, that's when it really took off for you guys, with obviously Edge of a Broken Heart and Crying. How did things change at that point for you guys?
Once we heard it on the radio, it was like, oh my God, we're legit. Then once we started touring, we first started, I think our first tour was with Eddie Money. And we were doing like Masonic Auditorium and theaters and things like that. Sure. And it was really cool. But then the tours just kept getting better. And then they released Crying. We got the Scorpions tour, which was unbelievable. I remember the first arena tour we did with Scorpions. I was backstage, and I could hear you can kind of hear the roar of the crowd, and we were the opening act. And most of the times, they don't show up for the opening act. Well, we had them. We had at least 10,000, 12,000 people. And I remember looking out the curtain, I just went, holy shit. And I was just like, oh my God. And I ran to the bathroom. I was like, oh my God. But once we got on stage, I think I played that set. I played a 45-minute set in 20 minutes. We had to pull out a couple other songs because I was just so nervous. I was playing everything way too fast. It was Motorhead. We were Vixen as Motorhead, but it was a blast. And those guys were so nice and just gentlemen. In fact, every tour we did with the Deep Purple, Ozzy, Kiss, all those guys, they were just. In fact, Kiss guys, Gene Simmons had a mad crush on Jan. He would stand right in front of her when she was playing, and just like, he loves those tall blondes.
That's what I hear. I do hear that. Well, did anything happen? I mean, he usually gets his girl. Gene does.
Breaking news here, Roxy.
You think I'm going to tell you what goes on?
See, we keep pressing for it, and I just keep thinking.
I'm going to leave you guys just guessing.
You're
never going to know until the book comes out.
Hey, you know how to do this. You're always supposed to leave it to the imagination. You know how to do it. Absolutely, you're right. And I was going to ask you about that. Because you guys did so many big tours, but the fact that you played with Scorpions, Ozzy, Bon Jovi, Kiss. You guys were. You talked about being treated well. You've never been a guy before, obviously, but how different is it touring in this rock world, as an all-female band, touring with these big bands? Was it different? Did you guys have...
We do. This is the thing. We go out there, and we go out with a take no prisoners attitude. Every night. Right. And if the boys can't keep up, well, we'll try not to hold it against them.
I love it.
That's all I got to say about that.
I love it, and it's just great to.
All we do is go out and rock. We don't even think about the girl guy thing. It's just like it just doesn't even matter. We're out there to rock. We love what we do. We want the fans to have a good time. We want them to love our music. And, that's it.
Well,
that's what it's all about.
And it's still to this day, you guys are tearing it up. And I'll tell you, I wanted to ask you about, of course, founding member Jan Kuhneman. She died back in a couple years ago, 2013. Why was it important for you guys to kind of carry on? And I think, carry on literally in her name. Why was that important for you guys to do that?
Well, Jan started Vixen way before I knew her. Early 80s, late 70s. So this has been her life. It was her life. That's all she loved her playing her guitar. She loved Vixen. She started Vixen. It was all about Vixen for her. And she went through a lot of member changes, but she always kept it going. She was passionate about what she did. She loved music. So for us not to continue, it was kind of like, we had to. We had to for her. We had to honor her. We had to honor her legacy. It was just the right thing to do. Plus, we spoke to fans and her friends and families, and everybody said, pretty much agreed, you need to do this. You need to do this. And so we feel good about it, too.
Yes, it's wonderful, and it's great to have that and as a tribute to her.
Though, terribly.
Yes, and I remember the first time I ever saw Vixen was back in 2001. I think you guys had just reunited with that lineup, the classic lineup, at that time with Janet, yourself, Jan. I think that that was the first, and I just something about her, the way her state, like her look, it was very distinct. You knew who she was from the 80s to up into the 2000s. You knew who she was. She had the hair, the headband. She was a great guitarist.
She just, you could not help but notice her. Even when she walked into a room, it's just like, who is that? She just had it. She had it all.
Well, it's good.
And you know what? You would never know that when you talk to her. She never ever had an attitude. She never acted like, I'm so much better than, whatever. She was so humble.
Well, it's
just amazing. She was really, really special.
Well, Vixen's a special band, and what is it? It just, if you look back, you can call it nostalgia, you can call it whatever you want, but there was something about the 80s, and I'll tell you what, I'm 32 years old. Paul here is, he's 50. He was around back in the day. I've just grown up with this music. I'm 32, but I've loved it my whole life. I've gone back. I've done my homework. I know the scene. What is it? What kind of a testament is it to that era of music that you can go on a Monsters of Rock cruise with Vixen and you've got the bands are out there. You got LA Guns. Enough's Enough. You got Quiet Riot. It's been
going on for the past how many years now? It's still going strong.
Like, what does that tell you about that era?
Well, it just tells you that this music is timeless.
Yeah.
And just people.
Good word.
People also, they miss the grandioso rock.
Yeah.
They don't want to see your average, Joe go on stage. You're just staring at his guitar neck and playing dreary music. People go to rock shows to forget their troubles. They don't want to. They want to have a good time, and that's what the '80s were. It was a party, and I think that's. A lot of this, our generation now is looking back and going, oh my God, that reminds me of this. That reminds me when I was doing this. These songs bring back great memories.
No,
And you
there's
should,
no
if
doubt.
you ever, I don't know if you've been on the Monsters of Rock cruise, but that is one big party, right? If you don't do anything in your lifetime, this is one thing you have to do.
Yeah, you talk about stories. I can't imagine that I would make it without going overboard at some point on a Monsters Rock cruise. It's got to happen though, Paul.
Oh, next year,
You'll be the
we've been
first.
talking about it for like 2 years,
Yeah.
Roxy. We've got to do that.
His wife will let him
You
come
have to do
someday.
that. I'm telling you, even me as one of the artists, I almost was late for a show because I was watching the Winery Dogs play in one of the theaters. I was like, oh my God, I only got about 5 minutes and I got to go play. But, and I was already dressed, but I had to see them because I just wanted to
That's
see them
part
so
of it.
bad.
That's awesome.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on, Roxy, and talking about the past as well as
Wait a
today.
minute, I'm not done. What are you doing? Hanging
Oh,
up on me already?
oh, hell no,
I'm kidding.
No, I just want to make sure that I let you know that we are so appreciative of everything you've done and what your guys are doing now. So,
Oh, thank you, and I appreciate you guys. I'm glad that I got to call in, and you're still interested in hearing what's going on with me. I appreciate it. I'm humbled that I'm still able to do it now. Even to this day, I'm still. I'm still rocking and still love it. I have not burned out on it.
Well, if you think about it, 2016's been a tough year. I was out in LA for the last Motley Crue show. This is a couple days after Lemmy died. You lose Motorhead, you lose Motley Crue. Twisted Sister just played its final show. Roxy, I got to be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do in 10 years or who I'm going to go see and that's why we keep this podcast going. That's why we interview musicians like yourself from that era. It's our era. It's our favorite era. It's, to me, the greatest era in rock history. What are you going to do, though, in 10 years? That's the thing.
I'll still be playing.
You will, I know, but you lose.
I'm still going to be playing.
These bands are dropping off.
I'm writing music, and I don't care who does it. I want them to. I want to keep rocking, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm focusing on writing music and playing with any of my peers that want to just get some new music out and rock and roll. I'm there. I'm ready to go.
What was the last show you just went to just as a fan, other than the Monsters of Rock cruise, which everybody's a fan and they're all a one there? But what's the last show you just went to and just to go to?
Probably the Monsters of Rock. I saw them all.
Mm-hmm.
I saw them all right there. Black Sabbath, though, I saw Black Sabbath,
Yep.
and who else? No, that was about it right now. But lately, I've been listening to some jazz. Believe it or not, I've been getting into some jazz.
Well, a lot of drummers take
jazz
that
concert.
influence. Jazz drumming was what got a lot of. That's a direct influence to rock drumming. So completely makes sense.
I actually started that way too.
Yeah.
I did classical jazz, and then once I saw Black Sabbath, which was my first concert, it was all over.
Yeah.
That's it. Bottom's the guy.
I've heard so many similar stories. I think Brian Forsyth from Kick said he was well on his way to becoming a successful trash man until he heard the Beatles, and then he just had to be a rock star, and he's, damn it.
Well, you know what? I never had any other aspirations but music.
Yeah, you came from
It was ingrained in me from the time I was little. My dad was like, not what instrument do you want to play an instrument, it's what instrument do you want to play.
Yeah, your family, you came from a family of musicians. You grew up in Detroit, family of musicians. What, in the Detroit rock scene, as you were growing up, my God, you had the MC5, Alice Cooper, Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent,
Yep.
all of them. Oh, yeah, it was a total big rock scene out here. You could play anywhere, and it was just like people really appreciated it. And Bob Seger, it's still
Iggy Pop.
rock here.
Can't leave Iggy Pop out.
Yeah, really good crowd. They appreciate it. What?
You can't leave Iggy Pop out either. I would feel really remiss.
Yeah. Alice Cooper, too.
Alice, absolutely one of my favorites of all time. We've had many Alice Cooper band member alumnus. If you could play one set with one band, Roxy, living or dead, who would it be?
Judas Priest.
I'd love to hear that. I think
There you go.
We actually did. Back in the day, 1983 or 84, I got it. So 83. We were Madam X. We were playing, and we were almost house band at this club in Phoenix called Rockers. And Rod Halford heard about us, so he came down one night, and we did a lot of Judas Priest. Well, we had him sit in, and we did a whole set with him. And he looked behind, he saw me, he looked to his left, saw Maxine, and he just was like, oh, this is fucking cool. This chick's can really, really get down. And Maxine with her tongue, I think she may have even stuck her tongue in his throat. But I don't know. There might be some pictures of that.
Okay, now that's just on a whole nother level amazing. I don't even know where to go with that one because.
And I absolutely believe
I'm
it.
sure those pictures will turn up somewhere.
Yeah, well, Rob, we're gonna have to start questioning some things. If that photo surfaces, there's gonna be some questions. Come up.
She if you watch Madam X, she has this tongue kind of You ever see her wiggle her tongue?
Well,
On stage?
yeah, it's sort of like
Oh, you gotta see it. She's pretty incredible with that tongue. Well, I think she may have wiggled it into.
Wow.
Reptilian.
No, no. She's gonna kill me for this.
Well, we're gonna have to introduce her to Gene too, I guess. Jeez. Well.
Yeah. I asked Gene Simmons before. Let me see your tongue. He said the floor's too dirty.
That just doesn't sound like the Gene Simmons I know. I'm just shocked.
Yeah.
Well, Roxy, what do you? Before we let you go, what?
Stories start coming. You guys hit me too soon. Stories start coming. It was so long ago. It takes me a minute for it to come back because I'm more in the present. I'm more in the now versus back then. And then a lot of these stories I just don't want to talk about because they are going to show up in a book someday.
Well, good. I will buy that. And I'll tell you what, guys, we got to get your information out there because you can get all the Vixen tour dates, which they're going to be at M3. There's going to be some shows coming up in 2017, guys. It's at vixenofficial.com, and you can get to Roxy's website for all the Madam X, all her info at roxypetrucci.com. All there. Do you do any tweeting or anything? You do any social media?
You know what? I don't tweet yet, but everybody's telling me I should tweet.
Yes.
It's like, oh, come on, you guys. Well, you got to tweet too. Come on.
Yes.
I got a Facebook page. Isn't that enough? No, it's not enough. I got to tweet too.
Yeah, you got.
I'll think about that.
And Instagram and Snapchat. You got to get.
Sunday. I want to say Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. KNAC.com is going to debut the song "Kill Mister."
Oh, awesome!
If you're busy on Sunday, even if you are busy, tune in.
We are good friends with DJ William Howell over there, so gonna have to hook up with him.
I love DJ Will. Yeah.
He's the best. We've had him on this show before. I absolutely love that guy, man. There's no better. I mean,
he's the one he's going to be debuting it, and he's going to put it toe to toe with Metallica's "Murder One."
I'll take Vic. I will take this. I'll take Kill Mister any day, man. I tell you what, that's a great song. Roxy, you are a sweetheart. You're just the best. I tell you what. I think now that I'm thinking about it, you are our third female that we've interviewed on the show. Nita Strauss from Alice Cooper and Madam Mayhem.
Oh, she's great.
And Madam Mayhem and then yourself. And we try to get Lita Ford. She keeps hanging up on us for some reason. I don't know why. And now you. This is amazing.
Well, you haven't said anything yet to make me hang up, but the night is young.
We were close. I think, on the Sunset Strip stories. But you know what? You're a sweetheart. I've been a fan of this band since I've been a kid. Paul's known them since since you guys came out. I'm a little younger. I was 8 or 10 years old when I really started figuring out the real rock and metal scene.
I said I was absolutely blown away back in '88 when you guys came out with obviously On the Edge of a Broken Heart and Crying, all that.
Oh, cool.
So.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see us live other than Kansas City in 2001?
Yes. No. I've seen it here in Kansas City just a few months ago. Also in Kansas City in '01. And Paul, back in the day, was it at the Rainbow for you? Was it? Or did you guys ever play the Troubadour as well?
I think it was Troubadour. I saw you guys.
Yeah.
You know what? We played first time we played the Troubadour. There was a line that went all the way around the block, and David Lee Roth showed up. Kevin DuBrow showed up. It was a star-studded night. It was amazing how the word got out in LA. It's just like once there's a buzz, boy, everybody showed up. It was a great night.
I miss it. There'll never be another scene like it. I got to say what, Roxy, we have kept you a long time. It's the holiday season. We hope you have the merriest of Christmas. Happy New Year. Huge show coming up New Year's Eve, of course, in Idaho with Great White. Roxy, you're a sweetheart. Thank you so much for doing the show with us this week. And we will stay tuned. If you ever get back to Kansas City, we've got to come by and say hello. Even out there in the stratosphere, we'll come see you. We'll come say hello. We got to meet you in person. Got to do it the right way,
Oh, we'll bring the whole band down there for sure.
Hey, absolutely.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Roxy, thanks so much. Have a happy holidays. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas. Love it. Thank you.
Thanks.